Now let's just say evil is a criminal taking advantage of other people, the victims. Evil is also the victim who thinks that it doesn't have the power to be the victim of some crime. You do have a personal power that, why would you let somebody dominate you? Where are your boundaries that allows somebody to take advantage of you? So it's may appear like they're one is good and one is evil, but they're both evil because they're both lacking self-control. One that dominates has a lack of control for self, but a victim has lack of control as well by wanting to be dominated. And that's a hard pill to swallow for most victims. And it's one that I had to learn myself because I was the victim of abuse. And I see patterns of abuse go through our family genetics. And I really, really wanted to understand, how the hell do you stop these patterns of abuse? And you cannot stop the guy that wants to dominate and abuse you. But if you're in the victim position, you're more motivated to stop it because you don't want to be victimized anymore. So you have to see how you are attracting the abuse. Why is it you're attracting that abuse? Why is it you're allowing somebody to be abusive towards you? What makes you weaker than the other guy? And it is a lack of self-control of your own personal power. For me, I was a people pleaser. I was looking after everybody else's concerns without looking after myself. Where a criminal or an abuser is busy looking after everybody and not themselves. So they're both playing the same game, but it's appearing like it's two different games, but it's the same game. When we learn how to fall into self, when we learn how to love self, we'll do better. Now, part of the sin of the father, the genetics that's going on, is Martin Sheen's family history comes from great poverty. And so they were the victims of great wealth. So what they decided to do is, instead of being the guy in poverty, they're going to be the guy with all of the money that's going to dominate everybody else that doesn't have money. So that's why Martin Sheen is really, really successful, because he chose which side of the fence he wants to be on. You're either going to be the criminal or the victim, the abuser or the victim. So while it's uncomfortable to be the victim, then you're going to go to the other side and be the abuser. And Martin Sheen has, there's a cause to an addiction. There is a reason, and that is why Martin Sheen appears to have a problem with addictions, is he has not solved that problem yet. He is still caught up in that problem of, okay, now I know subconsciously that I am the abuser, and I'm going to be the abuser in the name of Catholic religion, and I'm going to be well disciplined to be that abuser, and have all of the money to make it look like I'm the good guy. I'm going to believe in a religion that says it's all God and it's all good, so he's appearing like he's the good guy while he's being the abuser. And to be in AA says, I got a problem that I ain't solving, and that's why you're going to fight doing drugs all the time, because it's going to be a blocker. It's going to be, I don't have a problem, I don't have a problem while I have a problem. But when you are dealing with an addiction of drugs, it's in your face. Every day that you take a drug, every day you need a drug, means you haven't found yourself yet. You haven't solved the problem of your human experience yet. So let's look at Charlie Sheen. Is he playing the same game even with his addiction? Yeah, he's the victim of something and doesn't like it. So he's getting really, really, really angry. And, you know, like his genetics, it is a pattern within pattern. He is the victim of an abuser. He is not getting the money that he thinks he's worth. And he thinks he's worth more than everybody else. That's why, you know, you're a troll if you don't follow him. And what does him want? Him wants more money. Everything he's doing right now is to gain more wealth. Exactly like his enemy. It's all about the money. If you have the money, then you are the winner. And he's trying to get a whole friggin' globe attached to get the guy, you know, the one with money. And if you look at his insanity, it's in order to be on his team, you have to give up yourself and, you know, give up all of your money and give it to Charlie. He's manipulating everybody to make him be the leader, while you are the victim of that leadership because you have to give up everything of yourself to support this big, huge hero. And what's the difference between that and religion, that and doctors, that and the elites? He is turning into his enemy. Every single thing that he's complaining about, he's starting to be guilty of. He's just, when you start losing your stuff, you see you are the victim of something, and you start to see a bigger picture of what's going on. And while you see this bigger picture, you do appear like you get manic because you're so angry, you're so frustrated. When you see something so horribly wrong in the world, and you see yourself as the victim of all of those experiences, then you are fallen into evil. You are falling into misinformation. So the deal is, the only way that you can pull yourself out of this is don't get yourself angry. You do need to calm down, because if you want to be heard by anybody, that's the role that us humans take, is you need to calm yourself down. I had to go through that. I seen myself really, really rage, and the medical world wanted to put me on drugs. And it's like, you know what? I've taken your drugs before. I've taken many antidepressants before while living in a world that was doing everything wrong. And I was the only one that's seeing things are a little wrong, but nobody wants to listen. I was the victim of abuse from my parents, and then in the marriage I had, kind of was depressing. While I'm not a depressed person, but my illness prevented me from eating. Every time that the abuse increased, I stopped eating. It was my personal subconscious way of gaining control for myself, is myself stopped eating. And it was very much a subconscious thing. I could not put food through my throat. So what these antidepressants would do is bring back my appetite and make me think that, you know, all was good. But it never solved any problems. So when I started seeing this big global picture, I knew too much about economics, about politics, about justice, about the medical systems, about religion. I knew way too much about all of this information. So when I was the victim of extreme abuse, that was the victim of all of these systems, I was seeing a bigger picture than most people. But you try explaining that. You can't explain to a justice system, hey, you're wrong. You can't explain to a medical doctor that, hey, you're wrong. You know, people don't want to accept that, hey, take a look at yourself. What you're doing isn't exactly right. And you get all of this negative energy coming at you saying, no, you're sounding a little crazy. And it is an explanation of genius and insanity, that you are getting genius information But you're looking a little insane if you can't communicate that effectively. You're not really insane. It's just you're being judged by insanity to not make any sense, because I don't want to know that I'm wrong. You know, if I was a doctor, I don't want to know that I'm wrong. So I'm going to say that you're mentally ill. I'm going to say that you're crazy. You are the one that's insane, because I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. As a doctor, as a politician, as a leader, I don't ever want to admit that you're wrong. So I will label you to be the one that's insane when you're talking about your genius information. So that's the trick, is how do you, because when you get into this sort of an all-knowing, you see a bigger picture, you see more than most people, you have more all-knowing of the game that's going on, and you see how unfair it is, you see how destructive it is, you see how damaging it is. It will piss you off. It's normal. It's a normal human behavior. A lot of people will say anger is the drive towards solutions. Anger appears to be really evil. Satan appears to be angry and evil and fire and all of that shit, and it's like, okay, is Satan and evil really wrong when the motivation behind it is to solve the problem? So you have to sort of get into this God perspective, that while you are hypersensitive, because now if somebody calls you crazy while you're angry, while you are hypersensitive to all of this information, to this energy that's coming at you, you turn into what label they accuse you of. If somebody wants to call you crazy, guess what? You'll start acting crazy. So the deal is to not fall into the labels that people put on you, to go against that energy, to really feel self, while all of the energy, all global energy wants you not to be yourself. That's the trick. And to see where you have your own contradictions. We all are living by contradictions at all times, and it's because we don't know truth yet. But this is, I am really, really happy to see some of the things that are going on with Charlie Sheen, because it's bringing out a lot of conversation. He is going to make a lot of sense. A lot of people are going to really agree with a lot of things that he's saying, but he's also going to look extremely insane. And he's also, you know, he's both right now. He's both extremely logical and he's extremely insane. But it's more insane listening to these doctors, these elites that want to say, oh, addiction is wrong, so let's get another addiction. You know, don't take this drug, take this drug. And it's like one drug gets you out of the box, where another drug keeps you in a box. And I'm totally against drugs of all kind. If you need a drug, anything outside of self, and think that it's a life solution, it's wrong. Because you're perfect without anything. To need a drug of any kind means you are still one aspect of a problem that is not being solved yet. So I still stand by that Charlie Sheen is living out the sins of the father. The father has not solved his, stopped his sinning. He is the abuser. He is the wealthy guy. Well, he knows there's third world countries that he came from. He has not solved the cause of poverty yet. He's just chosen to be the rich guy. And the rich guy creates poverty. It's the opposite end. You know, instead of being the good guy, he wants to be the bad guy. Not saying that to live in poverty is good, but people that live in poverty tend to be more people pleasers. They tend to be more serving to others. So I would choose somebody that's living in poverty a hell of a lot more than I would choose somebody that's living in great wealth. But you have to have more concern for self. You have to be able to stand up for yourself, not allow other people to dominate you. So they're both two ends of a problem that aren't solved yet. But that's what I think this global awakening is going to be, is, oh, we're starting to find out our godlike abilities and do good to self and do good to our world. And that does mean we need to come off this path to our own destruction. So I don't believe any of these elites need medication, but they do need to transform their control issues into the solution. Peace out.